There's a specific reason money isn't responding to your practice. And it's not that you're doing the technique wrong. The more effort you put into manifesting money, the more clearly your consciousness is signaling that you don't have it yet. That signal, operating underneath every visualization session, every scripting morning, every SAT's night where you imagine your bank account full, is the actual instruction your subconscious is running on, not the scene you imagined, the feeling underneath it. Neville Goddard addressed this directly in his teachings. He said that desire, as most people experience it, is just a sophisticated way of confirming absence. You cannot be in a state of wanting money and simultaneously be in the state of already having it. Those two states are mutually exclusive. What you are about to understand will probably make you stop doing several things you've been working very hard at. But there's a question underneath all of this that I haven't answered yet. If you stop actively manifesting money, what do you do instead? That's exactly what this video covers. Every major manifestation course online teaches the same framework. Write it out, feel it in, repeat until it shows up. If you've been doing this and nothing has shifted, I want to be honest with you. This framework is incomplete. Not because the people teaching it are dishonest, but because it correctly identifies the technique and incorrectly assumes the technique is the whole thing. The assumption baked into popular practice is that the law of assumption runs on effort. The harder you work the technique, the faster the result. This is wrong, and I want to be precise about why, because the mistake is subtle. The state of consciousness you are in while doing your practice is not determined by the content of your visualization. It's determined by the felt sense underneath it. When you sit down to script your desired bank balance, what is the emotional ground beneath that session? For most practitioners, that ground is urgency, need, a kind of reaching towards something not yet real. The content of the script says, I have abundance. The underlying state says, I need this to change. Neville taught throughout his 1950s work that the subconscious mind does not process words, it processes states, and the state it is receiving in that moment is not abundance. It is wanting. If you've been practicing daily for 6 months and nothing has shifted, the problem is not your commitment. The problem is that commitment to a technique is not the same as assumption of a state. Every extra hour you spend on the technique without addressing what runs beneath it is just more time spent very diligently in the wrong consciousness. Here's the part of Neville's teaching that most people read completely past. He made a sharp distinction between desire and assumption. Desire is the acknowledgement that a thing is not yet real to you. Assumption is the mental act of treating the thing as already real. The movement from desire to assumption is the entire work. And you cannot arrive at assumption while your primary mode is intense, focused, daily effort to get there. Now, I haven't yet told you what actually shifts inside a person when they make this move correctly. There is a specific interior quality that tells you whether assumption has taken hold, and it is not what most teachers describe as the signal. I'll get to exactly what that quality is in a few minutes, because without recognizing it, you cannot tell whether your practice is building something or just running in place. Consider what Neville taught about the hours surrounding your practice session. In his teaching From Feeling is the Secret, written in 1944, he laid out that the subconscious accepts whatever the conscious mind impresses upon it most consistently, not most intensely, most consistently. 1 hour of focused visualization of abundance, followed by 23 hours of anxious monitoring of your bank account, means the subconscious is receiving one clear instruction: scarcity is the baseline. That gap between sessions is not a problem you can solve by improving the session itself. There is a pattern I've watched repeat with person after person who has come to this teaching seriously. Someone discovers SETIs, commits to the practice every night. The starting state, exhausted by inconsistent results, genuinely hopeful something will stick. The sessions feel vivid. There are moments of real inner shift, but the moment they open their eyes and move through their day, their operating state is someone who doesn't have enough money and is hoping the nighttime sessions will fix that. Checking the account, calculating whether next month will be different, narrating to themselves, without realizing it, a continuous story of lack. The friction appears around 3 to 4 weeks in. The outer world hasn't moved, and the gap between what they feel during practice and what they feel the rest of the day keeps widening. The turning point comes when they stop trying to perfect the sessions and start paying attention to the other hours. They stop monitoring whether the law is working. They stop running the calculations. They simply let the assumption carry forward into the day without checking whether it's taking effect. Within 3 weeks, things begin to shift, not because the sessions improved, because the 23 hours stopped undoing them. In his teachings during the 1950s, Neville said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." Most people read this as an instruction to generate an emotion. That reading is wrong, and it has made things harder for a generation of practitioners. Neville taught feeling in the sense of the felt reality of a thing, the sense that it is, not the emotional charge of wanting it to be. One is the emotion of desire, the other is the natural state of someone already inside the life they want. You cannot manufacture the second by intensifying the first. The example Neville returned to was the Barbados story from 1933. He wanted to travel from New York to Barbados for Christmas and had no money for the trip. His teacher Abdullah told him simply, "You are already in Barbados, Neville. Not imagine yourself traveling, you are already there." So Neville stopped thinking about how to get there. He went to sleep in his New York apartment holding the consciousness of someone already in Barbados. Within a short time, unexpected funds arrived, a letter from his brother arrived, and he made the trip. The mechanism he drew from this, he stopped trying to get there and simply occupied the consciousness of someone who was already there. Florence Scovel Shinn, writing from a parallel tradition in the 1920s, named the same principle in her own language. She called it divine indifference. Frantic mental reaching for money is itself what keeps money at arm's length. In her framing, there is a design for your supply, and it flows to you through a quality of calm expectation. You know it is yours, you are not hunting for it. That posture in Neville's more precise language is what assumption looks like from the inside. If you want to go deeper on where your state is breaking down between sessions, there's a free guide in the description called the Source Code Diagnostic. It maps which parts of your day are running assumption and which are still running want, with enough precision that you can actually close the gap. Link is in the description. Now here's the piece most modern teachers leave out entirely, and I think it's the reason so many people plateau. The way to know whether your assumption has taken hold is not a technique check, it is a baseline check. Here is the test. After your next practice session, wait until you are in an ordinary moment, making coffee, sitting quietly, walking somewhere, not doing any technique. Notice the first unprompted thought that arrives about money, not the thought you're trying to have, the one that arrives without invitation. If that thought is still monitoring, hoping, calculating the gap between where you are and where you want to be, the assumption has not taken root. The sessions may feel real, but the baseline has not shifted. That baseline is the real instruction running underneath everything. Your unmanaged hours are what money actually responds to. Nothing here requires a special talent for visualization. It requires attention to the hours you have been treating as outside the practice. Those hours are the practice. The session is 1 hour. What happens between sessions decides whether the state compounds or disappears. Here's a practical protocol for tonight. First, before any session, pause and honestly assess the state you are already in around money. Name it plainly. Second, rather than trying to generate the emotion of having money, ask yourself, what would money feel like if it were as ordinary as the furniture in this room? Sit with that quality of ordinariness, not excitement, not preemptive gratitude, just the settled quality of someone for whom this is simply not a problem. Third, carry that quality out of the session without checking whether the outer world is responding. The checking is a return to wanting. Your job is to stop looking for evidence. The reason your sessions haven't been building momentum isn't the wrong technique. It's that the technique ends and the old state resumes. 1 hour of assumption followed by 23 hours of monitoring is not 24 hours of assumption. It is 1 hour of assumption being slowly dismantled. Seeing that is the easy half. You can already feel which of those hours belongs to which state. The harder half is installing a baseline that holds across your full day, including the moments no technique is running. That's where the gap is for most people. A diagnosis is something you can give freely. A protocol for closing it is not. So there's a specific next step for the people who want to close it. If you want to build the kind of state that holds across all the hours your sessions can't reach, the source code diagnostic is the starting point. It's free. The link is in the description. Tonight, sit with this for 2 minutes before any practice. What does it actually feel like to not have a money problem? Not as a goal, but as a current condition. Carry whatever quality you find into the rest of your evening without monitoring whether it's working. In his teachings during the 1940s, Neville said, "Imagining creates reality, not efforting, not wanting. Imagining from the inside of the state as a natural condition of consciousness." That's the shift. It's quieter than what most courses teach, and it tends to work faster.